Okay, so we potentially have one of the biggest contracts for a young player in the game with Devin Booker. He became eligible for a Supermax when he made first team All-NBA. He's going to get that Supermax in the next few days, excess of $200 million. Going to be locked into the Suns for the foreseeable future.
Another guy who's going to get locked into a Supermax in the next few days or a few hours maybe is Karl Anthony Towns. Going to get the same contract, 4-year Supermax extension for over $200 million with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He and my man Ant-Man, Anthony Edwards, the most exciting young player in the league, maybe with Ja Morant. There's a lot of exciting times in Minnesota, and they're very happy that they're going to have Karl Towns there for a while.
Let me tell you what is amazing. We got a two-time MVP who's about to extend, and there's no drama. Nikola Jokic is going to sign, how about in excess of $250 million over the next few days when he decides to get out of the horse track and actually sign the contract, because he's hanging with his horses right now and getting paid. And here's the thing.
He's distracted.
This guy is committed.
Well, and by the way, we go from maybe the most boring player among superstars in the league to the most exciting one in Ja Morant. He is going to get a Supermax extension tonight. The Memphis Grizzlies will offer it to him. He will accept it. And he is going, as we've seen, he is one of the most exciting young players in the league. He is the face of maybe the most exciting team in the league, in the Memphis Grizzlies. He'll be doing a lot more of that in Memphis for a long time.
Wow, we're talking about close to, and my math isn't great, close to $1 billion in extensions being handed out today alone is what we're talking about.
Way over $1 billion.
For those four guys.
For those four guys, it's almost $1 billion.
By the way, for all the people out there like, oh, look at these players, they make so much. How much are their owners making?
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point.
When I came into the league, the max contract was $14 million a year. I got gray hair now.
Okay, the one guy I did not see on that list, LeBron James. What about him? Where is his money?
He is extension. It's in the bank. He's extension eligible. He is not extension eligible until next month. But obviously, he is watching very closely what the Lakers do. You're not going to hear us talking a whole lot about the Lakers. And they will sign guys, but we're not expecting impactful names. They've got a basically bargain bin shop. And so the real question is, will LeBron look at this Lakers team? He can extend for 2 years and $100 million. I mean, he's at the point where he's going to get $50 million a year if he extends. That is not anything to sneeze at. And so will he extend and commit to this Lakers team? Will he not extend because he's not sure he wants to commit to this Lakers team? Or will he let it go just to find out whether the Lakers can make maneuvering? So Russell Westbrook's contract is going to be expired after next year. If LeBron lets his contract expire, the Lakers could have cap space, and he could do what James Harden is doing, which is lower his salary to help the team. But we'll see.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm LeBron James. I sneezed out $100 million. I'm a billionaire. I'm a billionaire. Wendy, I'm a billionaire. If I'm LeBron James, I'm not signing a 2-year extension. I get that the money's there. But, look, Bronny's coming up in the game. We've heard that talked about multiple times, him wanting to play with his son. And also, if I'm LeBron James, hey, I made a tangible move to try to get Russell Westbrook. It didn't work out year one. Let's see what happens in year two. And I need to see what moves Jenny Buss and Rob Pelinka are doing with this team that can keep us in contention to help me win another world championship. And until I see the right moves being made, I'll go a year-by-year deal.
As Brian knows, earlier in LeBron's career, especially when he went back to Cleveland, as you said, Jay, he signed short-term deals, right? 1- and 2-year deals. Why? To put pressure on the Cavs, to keep making moves to make the team better. When he went to L.A., what did he do? He signed a 4-year deal that locked him in there for a long time, and he sort of ceded a little bit of the control back to the team, right? So to Jay Will's point, if he doesn't extend, that is one way for him to exert some control on the Lakers to say, all right, I'm watching to see what you're doing. Let's see where we're at.
I'm going to be honest, I will never sneeze at $50 million a year.
No.
I'm just trying to think hypothetically if I were LeBron James, what he would do.
But what I think is so interesting is this graphic right here. $129 million committed to 3 dudes. You got Malik Monk, who they want to bring back. Do they have enough money to even bring him back? What is it that they can do, Brian, to make this team better?
They can do this.
They can pray.
Looking at that list of key free agents, that's a rough list.
It honestly says all you need to know. If Malik Monk is your primary guy you need to bring back to your team, it's why they were a 33-win team. Yes, they had injuries, but they didn't have enough talent around those guys, and they don't have the flexibility to go out and get talent around those guys. That's why the Kyrie Irving, potential Hail Mary for them, that was their one get-out-of-jail-free card. Right. Now that seemingly is not there, they're really in a bind.
Are they wasting his final seasons?
I mean, are they wasting it? LeBron James put himself in this situation, too. I mean, there's culpability here for both.
He certainly wasn't opposed to trading for Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, so, my thing is, look, even if LeBron James, I think, plays at an MVP type level, I still think you have a team that finishes middle of the pack in the Western Conference. It's unfortunate, but I don't see any moves that they could realistically make that will all of a sudden make me think that they could be contenders in the top 3 of the West.
They're going to go look for some athletic wing players. I mean, Juan Toscano-Anderson, who was not tendered by the Warriors yesterday, he is going to be an unrestricted free agent. That's the guy they're looking at. Josh Jackson.
Wow, it's like who?
I mean,
everybody's going to say
the
who
12th guy
in
in the
LA.
defending champions. That's who we're talking about.
Unbelievable.
Buckle up, man.
That's it.
Unbelievable that he's in this position, and now it's on LA to do something with nothing.
By the way, he's in a great position. I mean, the guy has won 4 championships, considered one of the greatest players of all time. I know that we get into
And
this
he's a
thing.
billionaire.
Pretty good.
I think we get into it, though, because he's not satisfied. He wants a championship.
Tom Brady's
again.
not satisfied.
True.
You know, I hear where we go with it, but still, put it into the overall context of his career. He did just win a championship.
He's
2
driving
years
his
ago.
Ferrari back to.
I was going to say, I'll swap with him. I
mean,
love being here, but I'll swap with him. It'd be okay.
There you go. What about his Ferrari?
I mean, he's driving his Ferrari or his Lamborghini or his Bentley back to Brentwood to his giant estate. I mean, he's okay.
Nice.
And they did raise a banner in LA. So.
Yeah. That's like Jay Will's life.
Yeah.
The Ferrari, the Bentley.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.